Hey, it's Green Rumor. Today I'm working on a Ellipse motorhome, and again we're working on a Aqua-Hot system. This is a 450DE. Not a very great location. It's sitting sideways, and so it's kind of difficult to do the servicing on it. But one of the complaints that the customer had was with it on electric. It was not adequately heating, and it would not heat the coach. In fact, it would not even light up the heat zones if just plugged in cold on electric. Well, the heat zones run off of temperature, so in this case it needs to be around 150 degrees or so, 152, for the heat zones to kick on. And if you're running the diesel burner, of course you're going to get plenty of heat, and that's going to kick on those heat zones after the glycol in the system heats up. It's running propylene glycol, which is a food grade glycol. So it's been on all night. I have it off now. It's starting to cool down, and you can see the bottle is starting to lower. The glycol expands and gets up close to the hot. If it doesn't, then you're low on glycol a little bit, but anyway, irrelevant. Why is the electric not sufficient? For one, it's a 1600 watt element. It's not adequate to take showers. You need to have the diesel burner to take showers. That's just a known issue with Aqua-Hots. There are occasional Aqua-Hots that'll have dual elements, and they're quite a bit larger, and you can take a pretty good shower with those. And those are the 600 series. However, this unit only has the one element, and it draws about 13 amps, 11 to 13 amps, usually around 12-13 amps. I verified that this element is pulling 13 amps. That means that it is working. It is actually pulling the load, and that means it's heating. But yet it should have enough heat to give you modest hot water for laundry or hand washing and dishes and so forth. Just not usually enough to do it wouldn't be enough to do any kind of an extensive shower whatsoever. So what's the problem? It's working. The control thermostat is kicking it on and off like it's supposed to. It just doesn't build up enough heat to get the system hot enough to run the heating system where it should be capable. You don't want to have to run your diesel burner all the time just to keep the coach warm, especially in the wintertime when you've got it plugged in. You want it around 50 or so degrees just to keep it warm enough not to freeze things. You don't want to use the diesel to do that. So yes, it's designed to run off of the electric and be heating. So here's what I think is happening here, and we're going to verify it at the end of the video after I do the change. I took the refractometer, which is the tester for glycol, and put some drops of the glycol, and I pulled those drops out of the bottom of the system here. This is the drain hose, because this can fool you. People could be topping this off, and it could be an incorrect mix if it's not pulling itself in and out. If it stays hot, whatever the last top off is could be, just an erroneous number or figure. So getting it out of the bottom here is going to give you the VAT and give you what the proper mix is or what the actual mix is. In this case, we're at 60%. That's 60% glycol. And glycol itself, propylene glycol, is not a good conductor of heat. Water is a great conductor of heat, but you need the glycol to keep the water from freezing in cold temperatures. So about 38% is a proper mix. Between 38 and 45, I would say, is probably where the max you want to be at. You could probably get it up to 50 and it wouldn't be a big deal, but 50% is what your ethylene glycol in your car uses, and there's a reason for that. It's because it takes that mixture to properly exchange the heat and cool the engine. Anyhow, so what I'm thinking is since it's so high at 60%, most likely he's running Camco, the pink, which comes out of the bottle at 60%, so it needs to be diluted. you know, if you do the calculations and dilute it, you can probably dilute about 20% of the bottle, 20 to 30% of the bottle with distilled water to get the mix right. So don't just pour straight Camco all the time. If you've drained your system and ran straight Camco at 60%, then it's too high and it won't efficiently do the job. So I'm going to be draining. This system's getting kind of caramelized. You can see how dark the fluid is. It could stand to be flushed, but for the moment I'm going to evacuate some of the glycol and then displace it with some distilled water to get that glycol mix down and do some testing, and then we'll recommend a flushing. But discoloration is not necessarily a bad thing. It's glycol, sugar based. Heat will caramelize it, and Aqua-Hot doesn't really care that much about whether or not it has some darker color. It really shouldn't be too chunky or anything like that, or dirty. But anyway, we'll keep you posted, and that's what I think about that. Okay, that seemed to have solved the problem. Of course, the expansion bottle won't be quite as full with the heat of the electric element. That is not aggressive heat like it would be with the boiler, but it was enough to kick on the heat, electric element heating status. And I would show you those two lights that were on a second ago, but it just come up to temperature inside the coach, so it is good to go. So that was the problem. It just was not getting the water hot enough because it was too rich at 60% glycol mix, and 38 is the optimum.